This lesson is about writing equations of lines. You covered this last year in Algebra 1, so most of this material should be a review for you. Let's start with reviewing finding the slope. The slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we know our two ordered pairs are x1, y1, and x2, y2. So on this one, if I'm going to find the slope of AB, that would be negative 2 minus 6 over 4 minus negative 5. Minus a negative is plus a positive, and that leaves you with negative 8 over 9, and that is the slope of AB. Let's try this again. This time we're going to find the slope of CB. The slope of CB would be negative 3 minus negative 11 over 9 minus 9. So on top we get 8, but on the bottom we get 0. We don't leave it this way. When 0 is in the denominator, we say the slope is undefined. There are two special situations that come up. One where we have 0 over a number, and then the slope is 0. Or we can have a number over 0. Oops, let's erase that so you can read it better. Try again. You can have a number over 0 and the slope is undefined. Now let's review about what we know about lines. Parallel lines, changing colors on us, two lines that never intersect. So if we call this line L and this line M, we can say L is parallel to M. And when we're writing equations, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, on the other hand, they intersect to form right angles. So we can call this line T and this line N. And like we learned last week, line T is perpendicular to N. That would be the notation. Now their slopes aren't the same. Their slopes are opposite reciprocals, which means you're going to change the sign and flip them. There's three forms of a line that we're going to be writing in. The first one is point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The second form, slope intercept form, you've seen the most of, y equals mx plus b. And the third one is standard form, ax plus by equals c. Now remember, in standard form, a, b, and c cannot be fractions. All right, let's put together what we know now and try and write some equations. So for the first one, it says to write the equation of a line through these 2 points. Well, when we do these problems, we always start first in point slope form. Well, to be able to write the equation, we need a point and a slope. We clearly have 2 points, but we're missing the slope. So we need to find the slope first. So it'd be y2 minus y1, so we have 9 minus negative 3 over x2 minus x1, which is 4 minus 12. So that's going to leave us with 12 over negative 8, which is going to reduce to, divide them both by 4, 3 over negative 2. So our slope that we're going to use is negative 3/2. Now we're ready to put it into point slope form. However, we have to pick a point, and it doesn't make any difference which point we use. I'm going to pick that one only because it's listed first. So when I plug it in, I have y minus y1, which is negative 3, equals my slope, negative 3/2, times x minus x1, which is 12. Minus a negative is plus a positive. Now we have to transform this into slope-intercept form. First, you're going to need to distribute the negative 3/2. So that gives us y plus 3 equals negative 3/2. A negative times a negative is a positive. 12 divided by 2 is 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, not in slope-intercept form yet, but we're going to do that by subtracting 3 from both sides. So we get y equals negative 3/2 x plus 15. Now we're in slope-intercept form. For standard form, we need to have the x's and the y's on the left-hand side and the number on the right. So what needs to move is this negative 3x. So to do that, I'm going to add 3x to halves x to both sides. So I have 3 halves x plus y equals 15. But remember, we can't have fractions, so I'm going to clear the fractions by multiplying everything by 2. That gives me 3x plus 2y equals 30, and now we are in standard form. So here are your 3 equations: point slope, slope intercept, and standard. And on your homework, you have to show all 3 forms. All right, let's try another example. There we go. Write the equation parallel to y equals 1/3 x minus 7. Okay, parallel, we know the slopes are the same. So the slope is going to be right here. That's your m, and it tells you which point we need to use. So we're going to start in point slope form, which is going to be y minus y1. Our y is negative 5 equals our slope 1/3 times x minus x1. x1 would be negative 3. Minus a negative, we get plus a positive. So then we get y plus 5 equals 1/3, 1/3 x plus 3 divided by 3 is 1 times 1 is 1. Got to get y by itself for it to be in slope-intercept form, so we're going to subtract 5, and we get y equals 1/3 x minus 4. This is slope-intercept form. To get it to standard form, move the x's to the left, which gives me negative 1/3 x plus y equals negative 4. Don't forget to clear the fractions. Negative x plus 3y equals negative 12. Oh, crazy line. And now we are in standard form. And here are your 3 equations. So you have 3 answers for each problem. All right, let's look at example 3. We're going to write the equation perpendicular. Now remember, that meant opposite reciprocal to this line. But this line is not in slope-intercept form, so recognizing the slope makes it a little bit more difficult. But in standard form, ax plus by equals c, there's a quick way to find the slope. The slope can be found by taking the opposite of a over b. You should have learned that last year, but we can practice more next week. So the slope of this line would be, the opposite of a would be positive 2 over b, which would be 3. But we don't want that slope. We want the perpendicular slope, and the perpendicular slope would then be negative, because we have to change the sign, and then take the reciprocal, so negative 3/2. So we've got our perpendicular slope, we've got our point, and we are ready to write it in the 3 forms. So first we begin with point slope form. So we have y minus y1, which is negative 9, equals our slope, which is negative 3/2, times x minus x1, which is 11. Minus a negative is plus a positive. Now we have to distribute. So we get y equals negative 3/2 x. A negative times a negative is a positive. And then we say, well, 11 divided by 2, that doesn't work. That's okay. We're going to do this without a calculator. Multiply straight across the top. 3 times 11 is 33. 2 times 1 is 2. On your test, you can't use a calculator, so you might as well learn to work with the fractions. Okay, to finish getting it in slope-intercept form, we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. So we get y equals negative 3/2 x. Oh, what's this going to be? Well, 9 has a denominator of 1 right now, but we need common denominator, so I'll make that a 2, and that makes that an 18. So now we have to subtract them. 33 minus 18 would give us 15. So, change color. Go back to blue. 15/2. So then we're in slope-intercept form. Now we need to put it in standard form. Move the x's over, so it's positive 3/2 x plus y equals 15/2. Don't forget to clear the fraction. So we get 3x plus 2y equals 15, and then you're in standard form. And now we have our 3 answers: the point slope form, the slope-intercept form, and the standard form. All right, a couple more examples. This one looks like it should be hard, but it's really not. It says that with an x-intercept of -8 and a y-intercept of 3. Well, if it's the x-intercept, then we know that point is a 0, and the y-intercept, we know that point is 0, -3, and now this works like the first example we did. So first we have to find the slope. So y2 minus y1 would be -3 minus 0. x2 minus x1 would be 0 minus 8, so you're left with a slope of -3/8. Now we need to plug this in. Point slope form. Y minus y1. Oh, we got to pick a point. It doesn't matter. How about this one? So we have y minus y1, which would be -3, equals our slope, which is -3. Whoops, let's make that an 8. 8 times x minus 0. Distribute. That gives me y plus 3 equals -3/8 x. All right, subtract the 3. These 8s don't look like 8s. Okay, so we get y equals -3/8 x minus 3. That's slope-intercept form. Now we got to move this over, so we get 3/8 x plus y equals -3. Clear the fractions. Multiply everything by 3, so your final standard answer would be 3x plus 8y equals -24. That would be your third one. All right, let's take a look at example 5. Example 5 wants it perpendicular, so we know we're going to have opposite reciprocals, but it wants it perpendicular to line AB. So when we find our slope, we have to find the slope of AB. Okay, so the slope of AB is -9 minus 5 over 6 minus -4. So that gives us -14 over, plus positive would be 10, so we get -7/5 for our slope. But it's perpendicular, so we need to use the perpendicular slope, which would be positive 5/7. Now before we got to pick our point, but this time we can't because it says through point C. So our point that we have to use is point C. Now I'm not going to solve this whole problem, but let's just get it set up in point slope form. That would be y minus y1, which would be -3, equals your slope, which is 5/7, times x minus x1, which in this case would be +3. And then you can go from there. Let's set up the next one. Write an equation through the point -3, 9, but be careful, what does it say here? The y-intercept, same y-intercept as that line. Well, the y-intercept of that line would be 0, 7. So here are 2 points, but first we have to find a slope. So the slope of the line they want us to write would be y2 minus y1, 7 minus 9, over x2 minus x1, which is 0 minus -3. That leaves us with -2 over 3, because this is plus a positive. Okay. Now, when we're writing it, it doesn't technically matter, but it says to use this point, so we need to use this point when we're writing our point slope form. So in point slope form, we need to do y minus y1, which is 9, equals our slope, which is -2/3, times x minus x1, which is -3, and then you can work from there, and that should work out fairly nice. Okay, now you will have to do all 3 forms on your homework. I'm just trying to save some time in the examples. This stuff here, you need to save for Monday.